Hello there, YouTube friends. We're gonna be doing this C-section here, and I wanted to again show you the process of how I'm gonna do that. Went and got these plans blown up, and again, this is just the blueprints from the Benson Ford Center, and so I just blow up the section that I want to get them printed out, and we'll just go ahead and we'll cut along these lines here and get that fixed to some plywood and start making some patterns here. One thing I wanted to show you here on the plans from the Benson Ford Center, the drawing that they show an extra pillar that comes up there, and that was, I think, a drawing that they had, or either that, maybe that was something that they did early on in the building of the delivery car bodies. But some of the ones that are known to exist, the original ones known to exist, that pillar is not there. And so the C-section continues on around. And what there is, though, there's a support. It's probably like it's 3/4 inch by probably about 1.5 inches that ties into the C-section and then ties into the next pillar there. So wanted to just kind of show you that there, but we'll get this cut out and affixed to the plywood and start making some patterns. Okay, here's that C-section pattern that I'm making. And so what I did is I put the section up there where it needs to be, and then I got this large piece of wood there, because if you can remember, I'm having to remake these patterns because after I got everything, these roof rails done and everything, that C-section there doesn't quite meet up there with the top. And a lot of that had to do with the plans from the Benson Ford Center. They're a little bit wrinkled, and so lines don't line up exactly where they need to be. So I made that C-section there and then clamped everything, tracing it out, and then I went ahead and traced this so that when I pull that plywood off there, I'll be able to draw up the rest of that section so it mates up perfectly where it needs to be. So that's that section there, and we'll get all this finished up here. Okay, so now we have those C-sections made up, the patterns for that, and you can see how it touches up there, joins with the roof line. So those will be made out of hard maple. Here's the other one, and I'll get 2 of them out of the panel that I'll have glued up. Panel will be 3/4 inch thick, and it'll be 38 by 38. There will be a little bit of waste, but I'm sure I'll be able to find some uses for that wood there as well. So that's what happens when your patterns don't come out exactly where they need to be. You end up making a bunch of scrap wood and firewood. But I went ahead and redid the C-sections again. I just was not happy with them after I was looking at them. And you know, as you're building these types of things, since you don't have one in person to compare it to, you're looking at photos and plans and things like that. You're trying to get it as close as you can. But the problem that I was having was this section here. It was actually coming all the way down to here. And when I was looking at some photos and things like that, it was not this far down. It was back farther. And so I played with that, made some other patterns, just try to get that made it up just right. Because you have this section here that comes to the point. And if you look at pictures of real delivery cars, you can definitely see that that profile that does that. And of course, all this will be covered in metal. That metal will cover up here, and then there will be a drip edge, just a piece of quarter round. That's all it is. And that drip edge will come and it'll cover the seam between the metal and this wood here, and also the when we go to put the duck cloth on top of the roof here, it'll cover all of that. So that drip edge just comes along here and it just makes its way, and as it gets closer and closer, it starts to mate up with this part here, because there's another piece of molding that comes up. So all of those intersect, and then finally it just runs as a solid piece on down here. So I just wanted to make sure I got that totally correct for that. After I get these C-sections done, I'm gluing up the wood right now, and I'll once all that gets dried, it'll all get squared up, and then we'll be able to cut it out. But once all that gets done, then I'll go through the process of making sure everything looks good, do any type of final sandings where they need to be, and then I will start disassembling all of this, and then I'll start taking all my body irons, brackets, all these floor pieces here. Those will all get sandblasted. Everything will get painted. All the hardware will get painted, and then we will start laying out all these pieces for staining, so then we can start reassembling. I have to take everything down all the way to the sill runners. Those are the floors, but if you remember the sill runners, these sections here, those will have to get taken all the way down, because I got to get all of that prepped for paint. I'm not going to be painting it right now, but just getting everything prepped for paint, so then when we go to paint, everything will be ready to go. Another thing that I was able to get done was these door harnesses, these pieces of leather here, and it just basically keeps the doors from swinging all the way open. And the plans really don't show where they're mounted. It doesn't show how wide the material is or how long it needs to be. So I think I went with I think it's 1.5 inches here, and I spaced the screws 1 inch apart, and then I just played with it as far as with the length goes, just so that way I can make sure that it wasn't gonna be too far. Let me see if I can get that opened here. I'll show you how far those things go. So yeah, they just you know, keep that door from swinging all the way, because if you remember, got a tail light bracket there, and you don't want these hitting the tail light, so that just keeps it exactly where it needs to be. So all of my you want to make sure all the bolt holes, screw holes, all of that is done, ready to go, so that way after you stain or paint all this, it can just go right back to where it needs to be for some final assembly. So just working on those things, just trying to get a lot of those things finished up, and we will catch up with you again. So I was working to get these C-sections cut out, and as I was routing them out, got really tight on this inside curve there, and the router grabbed it and broke it. So yeah, good thing I got some more material. I could make out another one, so I think I can only get one more out of the material that I have glued up. So hopefully I'll be able to get another one of those things cut out. So I was able to get another piece there cut out, and was able to get those put up there. I already got one of them secured to the bracket there, and then all I got to do is just secure it up there to the roof section. And this other one about ready to drill the holes and get that attached there as well. I'm gonna get some measurements from bottom of here all the way down to the floor runner section. It's supposed to be 45 5/8 from the top here, just right there to the top of the floor runner. So I'm gonna make sure everything is square when we go to attach these, because you can still move this up and down a little bit. So we want to make sure it's nice and square. So that way when the windshield's on there, you know, you got a nice straight line across and everything will look good. Okay, so now we got our C-sections up, mounted. They're on the brackets now. And went ahead and secured those with 2 screws there at the top. This section here will get painted. So this will be painted the body color along with the backside, but on the inside here, that'll get the stain. So we'll have no problem getting those puttied over and wood filled and sanded and prepped for paint. So we got those. Section here across the top, just getting all that squared up. It's actually 46 5/8 from the top of that floor runner there. So 46 5/8 all the way to the bottom of that rail. So just trying to get all those things squared up, because when the windshield goes on, it'll be setting up on that firewall. The windshield will come up, and it actually is behind that top piece there. So you don't see the top of the windshields because it's actually behind. And that's, you know, again, when they designed this, you know, you got, if you were driving this in the rain, you know, rain shedding off, and then you don't want that rain coming in. So that windshield goes all the way up inside there. Some of the reproduction bodies that you see, there's actually a large gap, and that might be due to they might have the wrong windshield on there, or they just don't have the right height of that rail where it's supposed to be. So getting that all finished up, and next thing I got to do is we're going to make some blocks that will tie from here to the section there, and that'll just strengthen that area. The original plans, when they first drew these up, there was another pillar that would have been coming up here, about right here, and then it would have just made it up just like that, and then they would have put 2 screws in going there. But I don't think they ever built any bodies like that. I've never certainly seen any. The ones that I have seen that are authentic ones, they have that wood block bracer there between that. So we'll get those made up and get those mounted. Okay, we finally got the C-sections all finished up and complete now. So I'm really happy with how these have turned out so far. I like how the section just really mates up really well up there to the roof line. Also went ahead and got the spacer blocks, these little pieces there that go between the C-section and the pillar. Got those cut and mounted, and I'll show you the other side here. But I am really happy and pleased with how things are turning out. I need to maybe just do a little bit more sanding. As you can see, kind of right there, right where the thing meets up to the roof, that little point there, just to kind of get everything nice and smooth. But we are getting so close with everything here. And so I'm looking forward to getting the roof section, the slats done. So there is 25 of those slats that go all the way across from front to back. They are 5/16 of an inch thick, 1 inch wide. And I'm gonna have to make up a little spacer jig, you know, to make sure that everything is nicely spaced in between. But I'm gonna start getting all my steam bending stuff set up for that. Still have maybe one more final sanding left here on the body, just little pieces here and there, just make sure everything is where I want it and fitting and everything. And then we'll start getting this sucker all disassembled and ready for paint and stain. Got a steering wheel here that I've refinished as well. Was able to get this one. This was a used one. It's not an original one. Somebody remade one, but I had to strip it of all the varnish and the stain on it. But I'm really happy with the condition of it, so I'm gonna use that one. Originally Ford would have painted the steering wheel, but I'm gonna finish it because that's such a nice piece of wood. I think that's either I think that might be like hickory, I think, but it's really nice, or walnut, either walnut or hickory. I can't really tell, but it's really nice piece of wood there. So we're gonna refinish that one as well. So next time we catch up, we'll try to start making a jig for the steam bending for these pieces here, as they're gonna go across the top. You have to make the jig where it's gonna have to bend past the radius that you have, because after you take it out of the jig, you have a spring back of about 15–20%. So I'm gonna have to play with that a little bit till I get exactly what I want. So there's 25 roof slats that go across there, and then there's also 2 pieces of drip edge, one on this side, one on the other side, and that is what will finish up the roof section here for all of that. So some exciting things coming on down, so we'll be looking forward to catching up with you again. Hope you have a great rest of the week.